Okay, so I think we should now start. Once again, you're welcome to Leader Africa webinar OM e-clinic on data visualization. We shall be using Excel in this session. Oh. A second, I'm hearing a background, Victor. A second, colleagues, I'm hearing myself on YouTube. Okay. Okay, so I think we can go ahead. Can you hear me? I think so. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So yeah. So this is our second webinar that we shall be doing on data visualization. And yeah, so you're welcome again. So the session has started. I'll just briefly tell you about ourselves, which is Leader Africa. And members, please mute Luanga Ken. Doreen, can you help mute these people?
I won't disappoint us.
This is serious now. Doreen, help mute everyone that comes here. Okay. So I'll just briefly tell you about ourselves, which is Leader Africa, the objectives of the session, and then we briefly talk about the principles of data visualization, and then lastly, we shall take a tour of Excel in terms of data visualization. Some people are requesting to record. Is this deny? Okay. So Leader Africa is an M&E firm. Strictly monitoring and evaluation is our core business, fully registered in Uganda, South Sudan, and also operating in South Africa. Please, people that are requesting to record the sessions on your local computers, we are not going to allow this one. Let me say this, deny. Okay. So the session is already being recorded. We shall share the recording on YouTube, so you don't need to record yourself. So we basically support M&E business. And we look forward to building your capacity, both your individual capacity, but also your organizational capacity to monitor and evaluate for sustainable development. That is our core mission as Leader Africa. Basically what we do, like I said, it centers around providing M&E solutions. And in doing so, we support you or your organization to set up simplified M&E systems, to set up things to do with the capacity development, which this is just part of the capacity development. But we also run the quarterly trainings, and I'll be talking about this briefly in the next slide. We support organizations. If you have an in-house training need, you just need to write to us, and we shall come and support you in that need, especially if it is in regards to data management, analysis, and whatever, and also M&E principles and paradigms. We are happy to do that. Support you in conducting evaluations, baselines, endlines, and midlines, impact assessments. We are happy to support you on that, but also implementing M&E technology in technology in M&E, basically developing decision support systems, setting data collection, data management, and automated analysis systems. We are happy to support you in that regard. So those are our 5 core services that we offer. And in terms of capacity building, like I said, this coming September, on 1st September, we shall be running similar trainings. This will be virtual. We should be running 4 courses. Members, you need to mute. Okay. Doreen, are you there? Can you help mute whoever comes?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
I am here.
So,
I'll do that.
okay. So I was talking about our next training. It is September. We do this quarterly. And so this September, we shall be taking people through data management, analysis and visualization, and creating dashboards using Power Pivots, Power BI, basically, but also data management, analysis and visualization using advanced Excel. Today, we are going to cover some aspects of visualization, but our visualization class takes almost a day. And these are just 2 hours of this session. So we shall just cover a few of the graphs to empower you, to make you competitive, but also you can now come for the full course, which takes 4 and at times 5 weekends to cover the entire concept of Excel. We shall also be taking people through GIS. And lastly, monitoring and evaluation principles and practices. We shall be having these focuses this month of September. So feel free to come. The rates are less than $100, except for international people beyond East Africa that pay $100 per course. Yeah, so please register for this. The window is still open. It will be closing, I think, next week. Please register and join the training. It will really support you. So about the purpose of the session, maybe before I get into this, I'll also just briefly tell you who am I. I'm here with my colleagues from Leader Africa, but because of time, we are not going to introduce ourselves. But basically, I am Ronald Waiswa. I can briefly show my face. I'm Ronald Waiswa. I've been teaching most of you. I know most of you have been in Leader Africa classes. I'm in charge of research and trainings in Leader Africa. I have my colleagues here, but again, I'm not going to give them a chance to introduce themselves because of time. But yeah, we are here and I'm happy to take you through this. My colleagues will be chipping in. It is about sharing knowledge. That is our passion. It is our goal. It is our main mission to empower you, become productive, more productive. I know you're already productive, but to empower you to be more productive and more competitive in this challenging job market. That is our mission. And that's why we organize these trainings. That's why we even do these free sessions for all of you to be powerful in this thing. So this specific session is about giving you the skills, the practical skills in building simplified and unique. I like the word unique, visualizations using advanced Excel. The principle I normally tell people is that try as much as possible not to draw a graph that your boss can draw. So in this session, I'll strictly be teaching you how to draw new graphs in Excel, new graphs that your boss cannot draw to make yourself more competitive in this job market. So that is the purpose of visualization. And then when we talk about data visualization, we are simply saying increasing research uptake through graphics. So we shall learn different graphs, visuals, and I normally say, and it is actually true, that when you use a lot of words in writing, people remember a few things, but they are more attracted to a scenario where they are seeing graphics. So graphics are more captivating. And if you want to communicate your results in a more user-friendly manner, then it means you need to employ more visuals in your reporting. Don't make reports that are 50 pages, 100 pages full of words. People don't read. We have a poor reading culture generally. So you need to, as much as possible, simplify these reports using visuals. So this session will strictly talk about visuals. How do you draw different graphics? And I know I've been teaching this, and Leader Africa, we have been teaching these sessions to all people that have been coming for the M&E class. I'm sure most of the graphs you have seen them, but today you'll also learn new graphs. So it is going to be like a refresher for people that have been in Leader Africa trainings before, but also it is an opportunity to learn 2 or 3, 4, 5 new graphics that we did not teach in the previous training. So take this seriously, listen to the recording after here, and let us practice as much as possible. You must be gurus. That should be the mission. There are different graphics that we shall look at. And even when I open the Excel file, in that sheet that we have labeled getting started, you see over 20 graphics there that we can learn. But ideally, they are categorized into 4 subgroups. One are what we call the relationship graphics. This is normally for 2, if you want to compare the relationships between 2 variables. For instance, you're looking at someone's salary and then years of experience, and you want to see, is there a relationship between salary and someone's years of experience? Those are relationship graphics. And these ones, you have done them before. Where you get into scatter plots and then the bubble charts, etc. If you have 3 variables. 2 variables, you just simply go for scatter plots. So we shall be looking at some of these, not all of them. So those are relationship graphics. And then you have the composition graphics, which is basically about share of a whole. So for instance, we are here, and we are saying here we have the male and the female, and now we want to use a graph to show which portion are male, which portion are female. We are coming from different countries. I saw people coming from Asia, registering from Asia. I saw people registering from all over the world. And we want to see the share by country. So those are the composition graphics. And then we have the comparison. You want to compare between different categories. Those are what we call comparison graphs. And we shall be looking at all these ones. Not all of them, but at least in the Excel full class, we shall be looking at them. But in this session, we shall pick from each of these 4 components so that you're empowered to do some of these graphics. The distribution graphs, if you want to see, for instance, you're looking at people's age and you want to know, are these normally distributed? Are they skewed to the left? Are they skewed to the right? And this, by this, I mean, if you have like a population sample and you want to see whether it is mostly comprised of the adult people, so you can do a distribution graph and it will tell you where most of your population is actually clustered. So those are what we call the distribution graphs. There are so many. And Excel is one of the best softwares with all these graphics where you can change the design, etc. Now, some key principles when it comes to visualization. You see, the purpose of visualization, like I said before, is about increasing uptake. One of the objectives of your core objective as a data analyst, your core objective as a report writer should be to make sure that your reports are used. So it's about increasing uptake. And with that main objective at the back of your mind, always know these key principles. Your customer is king. Your customer may be your boss. Your customer may be any other audience you want to communicate the result to, is king. So you need to understand the audience that you're talking to. If your boss likes visuals, use visuals as much as you can. If your boss likes a visual that looks like him or her, you can draw a graph that looks like her. And she'll be impressed. She will read the report. She will mark the report. She will put the recommendations into action just because you have made the graph look like her. So you just need to understand your customer. You just need to make sure that what you're doing makes your customer happy. And that's enough. And then we shall be going through designing of these graphics. Designing especially, it is basically to make it catchy, captivating, make it attractive. But then don't make it more complex. If it is more complex, it is useless. The graph, in other words, should be able to interpret itself with little to no difficulty. When someone looks at a graph, should not go to a neighbor to ask, how do I interpret this graph? The graph should be able to interpret itself with little, actually with no difficulty at all. We shall be seeing how to change colors on this graph, but don't make it a Christmas tree. Don't overput colors on the eye of the graph, the nose, the mouth, everywhere. It is not a Christmas tree. So stay within. And when it comes to colors, you need to stay within institutional colors. If your organization believes in green, like Leader Africa, we make sure everything we do is in green. The presentations are in green. Excel, we shall paint it green because we are green. We believe in green. If you believe in yellow, you paint it yellow. If you believe in red, you paint it red. So it really depends on you. So don't put colors that make you as a person happy. Put colors that align with the institutional colors. And then the other is that participatory is best in the sense that when you draw these graphs, you can use different graphs to communicate the same thing. So better to ask a colleague how these graphs are looking like. And if they feel I choose this one to this one, then you can go with that one. So participatory is best. These softwares, whether you're using SPSS, Data Excel, whatever software it is, the principle of Giggle is the same. It's garbage in, garbage out. Don't expect Excel to tell you the right graph to draw. You must understand, when do I use this graph? You must understand, when do I run a particular analysis? Once you understand that, you'll be able to do the right thing. Otherwise, once you don't understand this, it means you do an analysis, the software will give you an output, but it does not mean that the output that you have done is actually right. So garbage in, garbage out, and visualization is multi-software. And what we mean here is there are graphics you're going to do in Excel. Excel idea is one of the best softwares for visualization, but there are some other graphics you'll find in Tableau. You may need to draw a map for Uganda or Kenya or Nepal or wherever it is, wherever you're coming from. And in that map, you want to show the regions. You may not be able to do that in Excel, but you may need to use maybe GIS. So it is multi-software. You just need to understand, okay, this graph, I cannot do it in Excel. Is Stata better than this? Then you go to that software and do that. Is Tableau better? Is Power BI better? etc, etc. So visualization is multi-software. Then the other thing is, so once we get to constructing these visuals, constructing the visuals, one, there are key elements of a visual. Like I said in before, the visual should be able to interpret itself with little to no difficulty. So the point is that once you draw a visual, even if it's a basic visual, there are some key elements that must appear there. One is the chart title. It must appear there. Otherwise, if you draw a graph without a chart title, everyone will be asking, what is the graph about? So the key elements of a chart title must be included there. A chart title, normally, if I don't normally put this chart title here, especially if I'm writing a report, and I know in the report I'm going to put figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. So I choose to put the chart titles in the report, and then I just take a picture without, or a graph without the chart title. Then the x-axis and the y-axis. So for instance, you see this y-axis, you may not really understand what 400, 300 or whatever mean. If you don't label it, it becomes a useless graph, because people will not be understanding what you have put on the y-axis and what you have put on the x-axis. So for instance, here we have it's excellent, it's good, it's bad. So what exactly is good or what exactly is poor? So you need to label the y and the x-axis. You must put the chart title. Those are three: the chart title, the y-axis, the x-axis. And at times you will have graphs that have the z-axis, the axis on the right. So you must label all of them. Then the other important thing is what we call the data labels. Now the data labels, you see, for instance, for this first bar here, it goes up to 400. That is easy to interpret. This goes up to 300. It is easy to interpret. But imagine if we do not put a 25 and a 75 here, it becomes guesswork. You may think this is 60 or it is 80. So to minimize on guesswork, add the data labels so that when someone looks at the graph, it's enough. He or she can interpret the graph without any difficulty. So the elements of a visual must be there. And then once you have put the elements of a visual like this, then you get into designing and formatting so that it looks beautiful. etc. So basically that is it here. I think now we are going to take a tour of Excel. I have already shared the data set. I see some people are still asking for where the data is. I think I can paste the data set here again. Please access the data set. Oh, I've sent it to Noah. Noah, I can see. Okay, you're welcome here. So I'll put the access link here. If you came late, we are not going to wait for you, but that is the link that you can use to access the data set. Yeah, so I want us to take a tour of Excel and we move forward. So thank you. Let's open Excel. Let's open Excel. Yeah, so I think I have Excel here now. Yeah, so this is Excel. Confirm that you are all in Excel. A testimony of 5 is enough. Yes, yes. Okay, a testimony of 5. Are we already in Excel? Good, that's enough. Excellent. So we want to take a tour of Excel in terms of data visualization. So the hands-on starts. So we organized a few graphics here that we shall be going through. But like you can see here, we have these are 21 graphics and the list is still growing. Once we complete others, we shall keep adding them here. So you may end up having 30 graphics in Excel. So they are pie charts. These ones I've been teaching them. I will not repeat them. They are bar graphs. You know how to draw these ones. They are the normal graphs that even your boss can draw. The stack, the image shapes, line graphs, etc, etc, scatter plot, histogram, infographics, area charts, the bubble charts, and the scatter, radar, tree maps, and sunbursts. We shall look at some of these, the box and whisker. For those that did the statistics, you know when to use a box and whisker, the waterfall charts, the funnel charts, and we shall see how to draw a map in Excel and the limitations of Excel in drawing maps, and then the icon sets and the color scales and the data bars. We already gave a webinar. The first webinar actually was only on this one here, and it's available on our YouTube. You should go and sign up. You can subscribe. You'll be able to see our videos on conditional formatting, data visualization using conditional formatting. We gave this lecture. It's available online. So yeah, we have all these graphics. We are not going to go through all of them. And therefore, if you want all of them, you need to come for the class. We only have 1.5 hours to now complete this. So we just put a few of these that I want us to go through slowly and make sure that you can use them. So we shall use a simple bar graph. The data set, we have already summarized it. We shall look at image shapes. These ones I've been teaching them. So for my past clients, you already know this. We shall look at a line graph. So I want to use this to just recap for the past clients that have been at Leader Africa, the tree maps and the sunbursts. Now these are new. I think I've not been teaching these. The maps, we shall see how to draw a map in Excel, the ladder, the area graphics, and the infographics, and we shall call it a day. We shall call it a day. Yes, so that said, I want us to go to the simple bar graph. The simple bar graph. I'm not going to look at a pie chart because I know you know that. But the simple, there are two types of bars and column graphs. We have what we call a simple bar graph and the stacked or clustered bar graphs. Yeah, but for now, I want us to look at a simple bar graph. Now, and once we go through a simple bar or column graph, it will take us to image shapes. Image and then shape graphics. So let's go to this sheet of a simple bar graph. Now, everyone can do this. So if you select this kind of data, for instance, sex, male and female, you have summarized it, it's like this. You can come to insert and all the graphics are here. And depending on your version, if you have version 2016 and below, you'll not be seeing a map. Maps are in higher versions like 2019, 365, etc. So you see I have a map here and all these kind of graphics here. If you're not seeing any graph here, the easiest thing to do is to come to recommended charts. And once you come to recommended charts, you come to all charts, and then you'll see all these graphics here in Excel. All of them are here, and some of them are not here. So we just use now new skills to add them, like the image shapes. How do we draw them? So yeah, for now, we want to use maybe a simple bar or column graph, any of these ones. It is for a single variable. So if I pick this one, I click OK, this is fine. Simple graph, and everyone can draw this. Now, once you draw this graph, it is a common graph. It is a common graph. But the most important thing as a starting point is that you now need to understand that, is this graph sufficient? So once you draw a graph like this, the first question is it sufficient? Should I just copy now this graph the way it is and I take it to my Word report? The answer is no. Why? Because it lacks the basic elements of a visual. So the first thing we said is at least let the chart title be there, this one here. Maybe you'll call it gender distribution. At least let the title be there. But also, once to put gender distribution here, but also, like I said, at times I don't put this in Excel, especially if I'm going to write a report and I know in my report, I'm going to put figure number 1, gender distribution of my respondents. So at times I even remove the chart title. But in the event that you're going to do a report in Excel, maybe you're constructing a dashboard in Excel, then the chart title should actually be there. Then we talked about the Y and the X axis. Once you leave it like this, people don't know whether this is money or number of people. So you need to label the Y axis, you need to label the X axis. And once you are in this graph, you can come to a plus and put the axis titles. So once you put the axis titles, so you can label this as gender, and then you can say this, no, this is number of, maybe number of youth, whatever it is, number of youth, and then maybe this is gender. This is gender. So at least now the axes are clear. But again, the third point we said is that once you look at this, it is not clear. So once you come to this, you're not sure whether this is 2,900 or whatever it is, then it makes sense to add the data labels. This graph should be able to interpret itself. So add the data labels perfectly well. You add the data labels and it's fine. Now this looks like a good graph. Now what comes next is, can you make it beautiful? Make it a bit beautiful. So normally I'll deal with the borders. So on the borders, when I come to format here, I can deal with the borders. I can put a black one. If you're good at designing, it's up to you. Then if you want the lines there, it's up to you. At times I don't like the grid lines, so I do a normal common graph. You can deal with the borders, increase the intensity of the borders. It's all up to you. Something like that. Now, once I draw this, if my organization believes in green, then at least I'll put a green somewhere on this graph. So for instance, if we believe in green, I'll shade these ones to be green. The first thing is if I click on these ones once, then I come to shape fill, I can change the colors to colors of my wish. In the event that I want to communicate different messages. So for instance, when I'm trying to say these ones are doing well, then these ones are doing poorly. In fact, the other concept of visualization is about innovativeness. The message you want to communicate can tell you which color to use, can tell you which visual to use. So for instance, if I want to communicate an increase, I'll use an arrow. If I just want to communicate maybe just gender distribution, I don't need to do this. I can just put the colors of the institution. If we believe in green and yellow, so maybe what I'll do, I'll come here. The first one, when I click the first time, I can change the colors of all. But in the event that I just want to change this one, then I will come, I click the second time. Click the first and second time. Then they only select this bar, and then you can switch that and change it to a color of your choice. So if you believe in red, you put red. If you believe in blue, you put this color. So this becomes a simple bar graph or a simple column graph. The same applies here. You just need to select this. Again, you go to insert. These are basic graphs. We're just doing a recap. I'm sure these ones we covered in the previous class. So if you want a bar, you can do a bar. Now, at times when I have a graph like this, it looks a bit disorganized here. Again, you can see that, yeah, we have succeeded in doing this. But again, it is up to you to deal with the chart title, deal with the x-axis, deal with the y-axis. And once you do this graph, after putting those basic elements of a visual. So for instance, if I put the x-axis and y-axis, and this x-axis, I'm simply saying GDP in US dollars, million US dollars, US dollar millions, something like that. And then this is, I'm saying this is a province in South Africa. So this is fine. But again, there are other elements that are missing. Deal with the chart title. And again, like I said, you can either remove it from here if you're going to add it in your report. But again, now add the data labels. So I'll come here and I add the data labels. Simple. And that looks fine. Now, when I draw a graph like this, it kind of becomes, okay, it's fine, but it's a bit disorganized. So for instance, when I want to communicate a message here that, yeah, Western Cape and Limpopo are doing well, then all these other ones are doing fairly well, but Eastern Cape is really bad. So like I said, I can now use colors to communicate this, because we know that when it is green, it is telling us it is good, we can go. If it is yellow, it is telling us that it's a warning. And if it is red, it is telling us that it's bad. So I can use those colors and I shade this. And when someone looks at such a graph, is able to tell that I am already communicating a message using colors. But also, normally, I can sort this graph so that it's not disorganized like this, increasing, decreasing, decreasing, increasing. So I can sort this graph. So for instance, when I come here and I sort my graph, I come to data, I sort it properly, I sort by GDP, maybe smallest to largest, they will now sort it, so that's smallest, and then it keeps increasing. Now, once I come to this, then I can deal with the coloring. So maybe I say this one. You remember I said if you want to change all, you click once. But if you want to just change one, you click the second time. So I can say this one will be green. I say green. Maybe this one also green. What did I do? Green. Maybe this I can say a bit yellow. We tried. I do the same. I said yellow. I do the same. So you can deal with this just for purposes of designing. Even this one a bit yellow. This one also a bit yellow. This one I can say red. Maybe red like this one. What happened? Yeah. And then this one, I make it real red. So I can use different colors so that when someone looks at this, is able to know that, oh yeah, this is already a message communicated. Deal with the background colors, deal with whatever I want to do here. Is now up to you to decide which colors. Do you want the grid lines? If you don't want them, you remove them. You can even design these numbers here so that they look beautiful. The ladies, you know the purposes of looking beautiful, so I'll not explain this more. You can change them, put them in black, put them in a box, do whatever you want. If you want to shade just the boxes, it's up to you. It's up to you. You can design these ones. You can design the axis. Let the graph be attractive. So that's a recap on the simple bar or column graph. Now, after we have drawn this is a graph that your boss can also draw. This is a graph that your boss can also draw. Now, it takes us to using images. If I don't want to do this graph in January, I do the same graph in December, etc, etc. Then you can use different shapes. So for instance, after I have drawn a graph like this one, this is the same data, so I will play around with this same data set here to save time. So if I want to deal with this graph, and I'm tired of using the bar graph, then I'll use the shapes. So which shapes do I need to use? Or I can use images. Which images can I use? It's entirely up to you. So for instance, when I come here to insert, we have shapes and pictures or icons. So if, for instance, I'm tired of that one, maybe you want to communicate progress or whatever you want to communicate, you want to use a triangle, you can draw a triangle graph. So I say, I'm going to draw my triangle graph. Or if the triangle is not okay for you, you come here and pick a graph of your choice. You can say, I want to draw a graph like this. I don't know, this is like a cup, I don't know what it is. So instead of using the other normal graphs all the time, you can use a shape. Any of these shapes, it can be a plus, a symbol like this one, especially if you're doing something for these Christian organizations. So you can do this. But if you are in a Muslim community, you don't take this one. You will go and pick a moon. You go to insert and look for a moon because that's what they believe in. I'm not sure why they picked a moon, and I'm not sure why this one picked this one. They know better. So you can pick a moon. So this is a moon, and you say, okay, I'm going to use a moon. If you're communicating to the Arab guys, you use a moon as a visual. So you pick any of these pictures. So once you pick any of these pictures, you just need to copy it and you change these ones to this. So instead of drawing the other normal graph, it is still a simple bar graph or a simple column graph, but you have used a different symbol. If I want this symbol to be in green and this symbol to be in red, what I'll do, I'll first change this one. I'll just change this one, the picture. I say I want this one in green or whatever color it is. Then I copy it, I come, I paste it here. It is supposed to change. Yeah. So if I want this one in red, I'll switch it. I make it red. Then I copy it. I come. I paste this in red. So that's how you can use images. Have you succeeded in doing that? A testimony of 2 will be enough. Am I alone? Yes. Christine Trimmer, how did you paste? It's working out. How did you copy? Okay. Okay. Okay, so I have some yeses and some no's. So the point is, so once I'm here, the most important thing is to choose which symbol to use. So in choosing the symbols, so you come to insert, pick a symbol. Some of you have shapes. I have illustrations, then I have the shapes. So if I want to use a triangle graph, I'll come draw my triangle. So after drawing the triangle, press Ctrl C in that triangle, Ctrl C. So after pressing Ctrl C, come and click in these ones and press Ctrl V. Don't right click and paste, just say Ctrl V. So when you do that, you'll have the graph. If you want an inverted triangle, you can even somersault this one. So when you somersault it, if you feel it is what you want, so is it well somersaulted? Yeah. So something like this. You still copy it, Ctrl C, come back here, Ctrl V. If you want these ones to be of different colors, again, you come to this one and switch its color to a color of your choice. I want this one red. I copy the red. I click the first one. I click the second time. I paste this to red. I switch it to green or yellow. Come switch, yellow, Ctrl C, click the first time, click the second time, and you paste. So that is how you can use different images. Don't draw the same graph from January to December. Akinyi, have you heard? Are we together? Okay. Okay, so Excellent. Now, so once it comes to this, again, you can deal with it. The most important thing is that you can pick any images here. So you can use any of these shapes. All these ones are graphs. If you want a smiling guy, you say, okay, I want a smiling guy. You pick this. If you want to use maybe arrows, if you want to communicate progress, I'll draw my arrow. I somersault it well here. Then I copy it. I come, I use arrow graphs. So your boss will not understand how you drew an arrow graph. Don't draw a normal graph if you want to be competitive. So that is what we call the shapes. So all these graphics here, all these shapes are graphs. Then, if I'm communicating something to do with, for instance, I can use an image. I can use an image. So for instance, these are male and female. And in this case, maybe I want to use an image of a man and an image of a woman. So what I'll do, I'll just go to Mr. Google. You go to Mr. Google and say, in Mr. Google, on Google, I need an icon for a male. So when you go there, they will give you an icon for a male, and then you pick which icon you think works best for you. And if you want a green one, you can even say green icon for male. So Google will give you all these green icons, and then you choose which one to use. So if I feel this is the best, like this one, then I'll copy it. Where is it going? I'll copy it. There is, when I right click, there's copy image. And then I bring it in my Excel. Has it come? Where is it? Where's the graph? Isn't it strange? Paste the graph. It is disappearing. Where? Okay, Control Z. So you can come. I'm not sure why it's not copying. Copy. Yeah, so the graph is now here. So I said this is a green icon for a man. Then I know these women like a purple, so I'll say purple icon for female. So you pick a purple one, like this one, bring it in your Excel, and then you can play around with this. So you have a man and a woman. The man is in green, the woman is in purple. So I'll copy this male, I put it here. I copy the woman, I put it here. So instead of drawing a bar, you can draw using images of a man. If you're doing a study on pregnant mothers, just go to Mr. Google and say, Mr. Google, I want an image of a pregnant woman. If your study is on breastfeeding, you get a woman of a breastfeeding mother, an icon. And then you use those images to communicate your results. Does that make sense? Are we together? A testimony of two.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. So you can use images if you're dealing with money, and you have few things. You're dealing with money. Like here, you can go to Google, same story, and you say, if you come from Uganda, and you say icon for dollars or Uganda shillings, UGX image. So it depends on which image you want to use. So you can, any of these ones you can use really. Maybe image for UGX, currency image, or icon. Let me use icon. So you basically just need to go to Mr. Google, and they will give you images, and then you can use any of these images any of them. If you go to, let me see images here, you can pick any of these ones. So you look for yours and then you can use that. So if I copy this, for instance, I copy that image, I come back to my Excel, I paste my image there. Then assuming this was about money, if this was about money, I can copy this and then I just use that image. And then that is my graph. So the most important thing is, what did I do? Let me just delete this. Yeah, so you can use an image graph showing dollars. So if you're working in a revenue authority and you want to show money, you can use money graph. So you have over 100 graphs in Excel just using images and endless image shapes. You can also draw your own graph. If you're called an Akinyi, you draw an Akinyi graph. If you're called Isaac or whatever, you can draw your own graph. So you can use images, you can use shapes to draw graphs. Don't draw the bar graph from January to December. So that puts us to the end of a simple bar graph, a column graph, and then the image graphs. Please, when you come to this sheet, practice as much as you can. The line graphs. Now, the line graphs are also common graphs, and this is also still a recap. The line graphs, we normally draw a line graph. I will begin with a simple line graph. Maybe we have this one. I'll just begin with this, a simple one, just one line, something like this. So once you draw a simple one, just one line like this, then we shall see two lines. So let's assume this is average money. Average money. Maybe you have a project and the objective is average income per month. Maybe the objective is to raise the income of the youth. Raise the income of the youth. Okay, so now when you come to this, you draw a normal graph, line graph, but this graph, even your boss can draw it. Okay, so you come to a line graph, you draw a normal line graph, and this makes sense. This makes sense. Now, the most important thing is put the first elements, at least as basics. Average income, this is at baseline, midline, and then at the end of your project. Label the axes. These are basics. So this is monthly earning. Project timelines. Put the title, if you're not going to put it in the report. Deal with the color, the border. So these are now basics. I normally, like I said, I don't like the grid lines, so I remove them. And when I remove this, this becomes a simple line graph that your boss can draw, but also you can put the data labels if you so wish. So I can put the data labels. So it becomes a normal graph that anyone can draw. Now, what then comes next is changing this graph to look unique. To look unique. That's why I said we want to teach you how to draw simplified and unique. So anyone can draw this graph. So to look unique, you just now need to play with this line. And there are so many ways to do this. The colors, this is easy when you come to format, the shape outline here. So you can say, I need it in yellow, I need it in green, I need it in green. So that is how you can deal with the colors. But also, this is colors. You can deal with the weights. If you want one which is very thick, you can draw one which is very thick. If you want one which is very small, you come to weights and do 1/4. It's up to you. And again, so the weights are here. You can choose which one works for you. Again, after the weights, you have the dashes. Instead of drawing a continuous graph from January to December, you can use a dotted line. So when you use a dotted line, at least it will look like that. Then these are dashes. You can use an arrow if you want to communicate progress. So if you want to communicate progress from point A to point B, I can use an arrow and I say, okay, maybe I'll use an arrow graph. So all these ones you can do on a line graph, a normal line graph, but at least put some innovativeness in these graphs. Don't just draw a graph that anyone else can draw. You will not be increasing your competitiveness. Draw a graph that will blow them away. Okay, now, if you don't need an arrow, I'll say you can come shape outline and deal with the arrow and say, no, I don't need an arrow. I just need a dotted line. I don't need a dotted line. I need a continuous line. So it's up to you to choose what works for you. Yeah, the dashes, I say, no, I need my continuous line. Now, once you're done with this, you then come to modifying this line. You can say, okay, we are at project baseline, and maybe let me put a value, maybe like 800 here to just communicate a message I want to communicate. And now your target is maybe to raise this income to 800. The baseline was this, the end line is 600. Your target is to go to 800 at the end of the project. So what I will do is that I'll make this continuous, and then I say this is dotted, meaning that we have not yet reached there. So I'll click on this, and then I come click at the last point. And at the last point, I can now change this one to a dotted line. And then I can even change the color to maybe red. I can change the thickness of the entire graph. If that is not so clear, you remember how we change the thickness, the weights. So something like that. So once someone looks at this, is already, I'm not sure I understand what Alfred is saying. So when you come here and look at this graph, you're already seeing that, okay, so from baseline to end line, that's where we are, and we are communicating a message. This one, I can even make it an arrow and say that, okay, at this point, we want to go here. So I can use an arrow on the same graph. So I say, please bring an arrow. Yeah, so I say, okay, we are at baseline at 600. Our target is grow to 800. So I've used the colors, I've used the dotted line, I've used everything to communicate my message in a graph. Then
you on how you selected that red section.
I said you click the first time, and if you're only interested in this one here, from point 600 to point 800, you just come and click at the end of this last point. You click, now you see that it is only 1 point marked. And once you have only 1 point marked, you come to format, and then you can come to shapes and then change the colors as you so wish. So if you want this color, you change the color. If you want to change whatever you want to change here, you basically do that. Now, after I have done that, still on a simple line graph, oh, how did you break the line? Okay. So someone is saying that you changed the value to 800 and the graph changed automatically. If the graph you drew it from this color, it should change automatically. So if this one becomes 560, it will change automatically. So it should be instant. If this becomes 200, it will definitely change. So that's it. So this graph is responding to the data that was used to draw it. As simple as that. So I'll put my 600 again, and I think it was 800 for now, because I wanted to communicate progress. Okay, so how did you break the line? Breaking the line, I said click the first time, they select all the points. Then you click the second time at the one you want to break. So I'll come and click at this point here. So you see that I have only selected 1 point. And once you select 1 point, you can now come on your format and you deal with these lines, and you say, I no longer want an arrow. So you say, what, I don't want an arrow. You want to change the color, so it's up to you. So there you'll be playing around with only this. Now, the other modern ways of drawing these graphs the line graph is to draw a line graph without a line. You draw a line graph without a line. So once I click here, I come to, you right click in it and come to format data series, I think. Format data series. So once I come to format data series, they give me this extra window. And in this extra window, I come to this one, which is like a graduation cap. And in this graduation cap, I come to line here. They give me an option of no line. So I'll remove the lines. So it is still a line graph, but I've removed the line. So once I remove a line, I come to marker. Then in mark options here, I can say use the built-in. And now this built-in, I can use maybe this one. So they just plot points. So when they plot points, I can even increase the size of these points. So instead of drawing the same graph, which is a line graph, I can use points. And so this will be my graph. If I put this in a report, everyone will understand what I mean. I can play around with the color here, but at least I have the line graph here, where I'm not displaying it as a line graph, but only points. At point baseline, we're at 200. At point midline, we're at 600. And at point end line, we target to go to 800. So it is a line graph, which I have changed to communicate it differently. Are we together? And again, on these ones here, like we said, where we said mark options, there are different mark options that you can use here. So if you want to use a plus, you want to use something like an this, it's up to you. And also interestingly, yeah, any of these ones you can use them. But also interestingly, there is an issue of a picture here. So for instance, if I'm looking at countries and I'm using flags, I can use a flag. So if you have your picture, an icon on your desktop, then you come to this one here. I hope you can see it. So when you click on this one, it prompts you to go and look for the image, and then you insert the image, and it will be able to, instead of using these icons, it will display that icon on the graph. So normally, this is something I really use greatly. I don't like drawing the same graph from January to next year. So I use this to communicate a line graph a lot. That's a line graph. That is a line graph. And that is how you can use a line graph to communicate completely different things. Oof, isn't that a good recap for now? Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Maybe you can just help us to go over on how to remove the line from being visual.
How to do it?
How to remove the line. I missed that part.
I said once you're here and you come to right click format data series, they display another format data series window here. So once you come to format data series window, you come to this one, which looks like a graduation cap. Under line, you see an option of no line. And under no line, you come to marker after you have selected no line. If you want a solid line, the line will be there. A gradient line, it will be there. An automatic line, it will be there. That is if you want a line. If you don't want a line, I'll remove the line. Was that your question?
Yeah, thank you.
And then the mark options, you can deal with the mark options and the colors of the mark options. The mark options, I think, where was it? Under marker options, I come to mark options, built in. I select this one. I pick any of these ones. So if I want a triangle, I do this, then you can increase it or you can decrease it. And then you can also, I think, deal with the colors here. You just need to deal with this one. So if you want these kind of colors, they'll put those kind of colors. That is simple. Okay. Now, that gives me a go ahead to the third group of graphs, tree maps and sunbursts. Tree maps and sunbursts. So let's go to that sheet of tree maps. And again, the session is live on YouTube, so you can always go back to it. Okay. Tree maps and sunbursts. Now the tree map is even in other softwares it appears like this. I'm not sure why they called it a tree. I would have expected a tree, but it is actually a box graph. It's a box graph, but it's called a tree map. Even in Vivo, it's a tree map, and it looks similar to this that we are going to draw. Then the sunburst, you'll see how it bursts as a sun. So now, so you select the data like this. You come to insert, and then the tree map is not here, as you can check. It's not here. And because it's not here, you come to recommended charts, come to all charts, and then you'll see a tree map here. And then also a sunburst here. Now you see that a sunburst looks like a pie chart. It looks like a pie chart. But there's also a tree map. So let's first deal with the tree map. So the tree map is here. You just click on it and click OK. So it will give you a box graph. And that is it. So that is, instead of drawing the bar graph all the time, you can draw this kind of a box. And yeah, you can deal with that. And then once you have this, what they do, the category with the biggest number will take the biggest box. So for instance, if this Eastern Cape is now here, it has a very small value. But if it changes and it has 1,000, for instance, it will automatically come and take the first position. If it changes to 2,000 or 20,000, it will take almost the entire box. So that is how a tree map works. And again, you can put the data labels here. When you come to data labels, let me just close this a bit. Yeah, data labels, show more data labels. You can say, okay, I don't want the category name. That is if you think you can cram all these colors. I just want the values. And maybe the category name if you want them. So that is it. And that is how it happens. So it can give you this, and you can use this to communicate your results. And again, here, if you want to change colors here, you want to say this one is here in red. Once you click the first time and click the second time, you can come and just change a color on any of those boxes. As simple as that. If you want this one to be very good, dark green, you come and switch this one to darker green. As it changes the color here, even its icon here will change its color. If this one is supposed to be yellow, you switch it and say this one, I should highlight it in yellow. etc. etc. So you can customize the colors here to the colors of your interest. So that's a tree map. Now the tree map and the sunburst, still using this first example, you come to insert and then you'll come to recommended charts, all charts, and then you can do a sunburst. This sunburst for a single variable analysis, it looks like a pie chart. But again, you can also put the data labels as the way we add it. You want the values there. Maybe you don't want the category name, especially if you have the region. I can use this as my sun, as my graph, and it looks like a sunburst. Okay, the sunburst, which looks like a pie chart, but that's basically what we call a sunburst. Now, the interesting thing about the sunburst is when you're plotting like two variables. If it is a one variable analysis, it will appear like a pie chart. So what I'll do is, now that we have seen how to draw this, let me first delete this for purposes of space. Now here, we are dealing with two variables, sector and province, education and this. Now, if I do a tree map here, it will first do the sector, and then it will split the sector by province. Come to education sector, split education sector by province. So what we do is you come to insert, recommended charts, all charts, and then you say a trim up. And once you trim up and do this, so this is what I said, it will come to health sector and is split it. Then it comes to education sector and it will split it. Also, looking at this, you'll tell that actually the health sector takes the biggest share by share of the blue, and then the education sector is taking the smallest share of that budget. Within the health sector, it will be Limpopo. And again, you can add the if you want to change education, you can deal with the colors here. You say education, I want it in yellow. Yellow looks very ugly. I think I can put green. Yeah, something like that. So you can also now put the data labels like I said. Just come to this, add the data labels, show more data labels, and then you can say I want the values in here. So you can use this as your graph. As simple as that. Now, the other interesting thing is when I want to use this data to draw a sunburst. And that's why I said that for a sunburst, it's better to draw a sunburst when you're dealing with two variables. It also splits it. So the sunburst is here, recommended charts, all charts, then you come to sunburst. So it will be a sunburst. So what they will do, it goes beyond the pie chart, which is one variable analysis. Can expand this a bit so that you can see it. Yeah. So it will plot for you. It will come to health and splits health into this. It comes to education and splits education into the different provinces. And again, like we said, you can add the data labels in the same way. You can change the colors here. So it becomes a sunburst graph. Are we together? Christine, how do we add the data labels? I can't see the options. What is the difference between a sunburst and donut? That's why I said that let me first begin with Christine. Christine, we said to add the data labels, once you're in this graph, you have a plus. And once you have a plus, you have a plus. And once you have a plus, you have chart title and then the legend, if you want the legend there. But then we have the data labels. So in the data labels, it has a row, an arrow here telling you that there are more options under data labels. So you come to data labels and you come to that more data options, and then you come and say, I want the values there. So that is how you add them. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Okay. Then what is the difference between a sunburst and a donut? For a single variable analysis, that's why I said it sounds like a pie chart or a donut actually. But for two variables like this one, you'll not be able to use a pie chart to draw it. You can try and test. So I would prefer using a sunburst when you're analyzing 2 or 3 variables and you want them in a circular kind of form. Hope that answers you. Okay. Okay. Now, so those are what we call the tree maps and sunbursts. I'll go to the second one, which is a map. So how do we draw a map in Excel? There are limitations for this. Now, a map in Excel, I see someone said those in Excel version 16, below 16 are out. Yes, you're out. But we are in 2023 and you're using Excel 2013. Go and get a better version of Excel. Okay. So now, at times you may have, what is happening? Okay. So you may need to draw a map No, these are not Eastern Africa. Western Africa. Okay, that's fine. You can draw a map of your own country alone. We shall see how to do this. So you may need to draw a map like this one. I think I should start with a simple one. Which one? Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Okay, let me just draw a map of a simple graph, and then we shall come to a larger map. So let me assume we have populations for Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda, those in East Africa for now, just for 4 countries here. Or you're comparing, whatever variable you're comparing across countries, then you can draw a map graph. Now, once I come to, if I'm starting with just a few countries, then we shall go to larger countries, and then you'll also do one, which is for the world. So I select this data. I come to insert, you'll have a map here. If you have Excel or lower versions, I don't think you have a map. So this, I'm using Excel 2019. But if you have Excel 2019, I'm not sure if it is in 2016. I'm not sure, you need to check. If you're not seeing it, just go to recommended charts, go to all charts, and then see if you have a map. If you don't have a map, it means you have a lower version of Excel. So I'll select my data, then I'll come to my map, and I draw a map. So they draw a map here, because, wait. Okay, because these countries are in East Africa, you see that they have.
You come.
Achiro, can you close yourself, mute yourself? Okay, so once I draw this map, it's a map, and these countries are in Africa. And that's why you see this graph here. Now, this color at times is not looking nice. So normally what I'll do, I'll come to these ones. I put the legend, I think. Let me put it at the bottom. Okay. I thought I could get more legend colors here. I think that's fine. Let me just do this. So I come to this data labels. I wanted to show more options. The category name, I want it, but now the graph is becoming more smaller and smaller. But that's fine. We are going to see how to deal with these colors. Then maybe I need to deal with the size of this. So I right click, come to format data series. Yes, I think this is what I wanted. Now, for this here, the color, if I'm not interested in this color here, it's a bit greenish or bluish, so I'm not seeing it. I think I come to series colors. You see this color here? So I'll play with this color. I said the lowest should be maybe lowest value. The color should not be this. I can maybe put red. And then the highest value, let it be green. So you'll see where the green is. You see the green is somewhere there in for Rwanda. But now, because this map is getting lost with other countries, I can even say map area, change it to only region with data. So they will draw the East African map. And they'll give us Kenya is this, Tanzania is this. But because you even have these ones, I can even remove the labels and I just put the numbers. So they draw this map, and where there is green, it means it has the highest population. So in this map, if you see the one for Rwanda, it is green. If this changes to maybe something like this, now these ones will turn green, and for it will be red. So they will change these colors depending on the size, because they are using this color that if it is the lowest will take red, and it keeps increasing to green. And therefore the thickness of the color will depend which one has the highest population. So that is how you draw a map. And again, like I said, once you're here, you can say the data labels or the data labels, show more options. I don't want the category name because I know this is a map for Uganda. This is a map for Kenya. This is a map for Tanzania. Then this is a map for Rwanda. And like I said, if you want, you can do this showing it on the entire Africa. So you just need to right click here, come to format data series, then you say region and say multiple regions. So they'll bring you one which is for Africa. And then if you want to compare it with the world, they'll draw one for the world and you'll see everything, the world scattered everywhere. And then the countries you're considering are only here. So this is a world map. If you want to compare things in the world, you go for the world. If you want to compare in East Africa, you go just in East Africa. If you're comparing just one country, you just do the comparison within just that one country. So you can draw a map in Excel. So that is one example. Let me remove this now. So now, once I come to maybe many countries, like in this case, we have multiple countries here, population of different countries. I will do the same process. I select my data, I come to insert, I come to a map, I draw a map. So they will draw a map like this. And again, I don't like these colors. So I'll deal with the colors like we did before. This is a map showing distribution of the population of different countries. But you see that there are only a few countries that are labeled here. So instead of using this, I'll just restrict it to those countries that I'm comparing. So I'll come to this, I right click, format data series. Now, when I come to format data series, map area, I can say only regions with data. So they will draw the maps of those countries that have data. Or I'll come, if you go to world map, they will compare it with the entire world, but then there are only a few countries we are comparing here. So I'll just say only region with data. They will draw the maps of those countries. And then the map labels, you can draw with something like this. If you want to change the colors, this color is not very good for me. I'll change it to maybe yellow, and then I change yellow to blue. So it will tell you which country has the highest population and which country has the lowest population. Okay. Are we together? So you must understand which countries you're dealing with. As you expand the graph, the countries that are small will show you their population. So as you you'll be able to read the graph, the values, or the country names. This is Somalia. This is South Sudan. If you don't understand this one, you just bring your color here. This on the map, this should be Madagascar. Yeah, this is Madagascar. Depending on if you passed geography. If you failed geography, you'll be struggling to identify which country this is. So for instance, Isaac, which country is this? This one here. You'll be struggling, but it depends on your geography. Ideally, this should be Malawi, and this should be Zambia, Malawi, Zambia, and then Mozambique, Zimbabwe is down here. Yeah, as simple as that. So they'll plot only the countries that you're interested in. And then you can use this graph and you explain it. Okay, very interesting question here. Okay, I expected this question actually to come. Can I do it for regions in Uganda? I beg your pardon on how you extracted the 3 countries from the Africa. Okay. Can I get a map in Excel, add-ins? You can try. In Uganda, don't we have any good data set that we can use? What do you mean? You can create your own data set anyway. That's fine. But this webinar is beyond Uganda. We have people coming from Asia and the world, so we cannot restrict ourselves to Uganda alone. So yeah, you can create your own data set for Uganda in that case. Okay. Can I do a map for Uganda alone and I extract the regions? No. In Excel, no. In GIS, yes. That's why we say visualization is multi software. So I think they call them the shape files. So the shape files in here are at country level. Apart from US, I think for US you can by region, by the states, you can do that. But Uganda or Kenya, you do not participate in building Excel, right? So they do not have the shape files for the regions in Uganda. So that is the problem. So even if you want to use GIS to draw the map of Uganda, like we see them in UBOS reports, for them, they have the shape files for the regions in Uganda. And that's when you can draw the maps for Uganda. And then you put Karamoja, Gulu, wherever. In Excel, we don't have that for now. But maybe there should be a way, which we are still exploring, on how to introduce shape files for a country into Excel. Maybe during the Excel class, we shall be able to do this. But for now, Excel does not have that capacity to the best of our knowledge at Leader Africa. Okay, so Judith is saying, I beg your pardon on how you extracted the 3 countries. I said you right-click in the map, come to format data series. And once you come to format data series, you will get this window. And once you get this window, there is map area. And then you can say on a region with data. If you want world, so you can just go for on a region with data. Then it will only give you those countries, the maps of those countries with data, and you'll be able to do that. I hope that answers you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that is drawing maps in Excel. We have ladders, and for ladders, they are also interesting graphs. The beauty about ladders is that, let me see how many. Hey, I'm left with 3 graphs. I have 27 minutes. Wherever we stop, we shall stop. The graphs are just too many. Like we said, you can draw 100 graphs in Excel, but I hope that will be good for you now. So we have the ladder graphs. So the ladder graphs is when you want to compare multiple things. They can be indicators like we have indicated here. Indicators, so many indicators, and you want to see which one is above target, which one is below target. For instance, assuming we have a target here. For now, let's assume. Let me just insert some rows to separate these 2 data sets here. So for instance, we have a target here, and maybe these are regions, and we have a target. Maybe let's assume the target is 55%. So this is the target, and we want to compare which indicator has gone past that target. So you can use a radar graph. So once you come to insert, you go to insert. If you're not seeing it here, you come to recommended charts, all charts, and then you can come to, where is it? The radar. So the ladder, this one here, and you click OK. So what they will do, they will plot it. So what they've done is to plot this one. I think we can delete, remove it, and then we can add it. We shall see how to add these ones. So this is the boundaries. This is our target for these indicators. And then we want to know which indicator actually is above that target. So whatever goes beyond this line will be something that has performed beyond the target. So it will tell you that, for instance, indicator 1, we scored above target. Indicator 3, we scored above target. Indicator 2, we scored below the target. Indicator. So this is what we call the radar chart. And you can put the data labels if you so wish. It's a bit congested here. I'm not sure why. I think I need to remove the data labels for this one, this 55. So I can say delete those data labels here. So I delete because that one I know it is just 55. So I've put the data labels here, which you can also adjust as you so wish per indicator. You can see where to put it. Now this is up to you. If it is disturbing you, you can pull them out and you're able to see which indicator is above the target. So these are what we call the ladder charts. So another example we have here is if you're dealing with different countries, you can use it to compare different things really. And again, the process is the same. Just go to recommended charts, add chart, all charts, and then you come to a ladder. And then you click OK. So this ladder, if you have targets, it's up to you. If you don't have targets, it's simply telling you that this is 0, 20%, 40%, 60, 80, and this one is 100. If you don't want this one, you can delete it. And then you can tell which countries where by latrine coverage and latrine coverage in 2021, latrine coverage in 2022, assuming this is the baseline. So Ethiopia at baseline was here, it increased to this. You can put the data labels and you see how these work. Is it a must that target should be the same? No, you can put your own targets. Like in this case, assuming this was the target for latrine in 2022. So you can use different things. Okay. So that's what we call a ladder, and you can use that to compare across various ones. So instead of using a bar graph all the time, try a ladder. Try a ladder. Okay, let me look at some of the questions. How do we set the area for a ladder? What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand this. I'm not sure the area. How do you set the target in the ladder? Okay, the target is, I just created a new column and called it target and gave it a target. So it's fine. What's the difference between what? Let me just go up here. What's the difference between maps and 3D maps? I think the best to do is to practice to try it. It's like a 3D pie. I don't normally use the 3D pie because they look ugly, but some people love them. So it is how it's going to appear really. You can try it. And if it makes sense to you, you can use it. The most important thing is being able to interpret the graph and also making sure that the graph, yeah, is good. So as simple as that. Okay, so that's what we call a ladder chart. You'll go and as far as modifying these ones, you can design the colors as you so wish. You can even, I think, use dotted ones. If you feel you want dotted ones, you can use dotted ones. You can change the chart color, the colors if you want this in green or red. It's up to you. You can ideally play around with this until when this is the baseline. Maybe this one I want to say is where we want to go. So I say maybe I'll put green. I'm so specific on green because it is our institutional color. I can increase the weights for this. And that is my radar graph. And I can use that to explain which one went beyond the baseline value, which one is below. So for instance, here, it simply tells you that in Zambia, actually it declined, it's inside. But all these other ones, I think even Tanzania is below target, is below the baseline value. So you can compare this really, and then see how to play around with it. Is that okay? Are we still together? We're about to finish. I know you're tired.
Yes,
I am also going to make sure we finish on time or a few minutes before time. It's not good to teach for more than 2 hours. Okay. So those are ladder. Then we have the area graphics. The area graphics, we use them. It's like comparison over time. So for instance, we have population here and you want to see which population is increasing. So over time, so I'll select this for population. I'm leaving out the total for now. And so I can come to insert. Then you come to recommended charts, all charts. And then you come to where is the area? Area map is here. So these are area, whatever. I know it's better to use this one, which is stacked. I think at 100. No, I don't like this one. This one, which is set up to 100. You can just keep practicing to see what that means. Now, so this is what we call an area map. And now this area map, for instance, in 2001, you see that the adults 50% are accounting for about 30%. And then the youth are accounting for this biggest magnitude, which is 100 minus 40, almost 60%. These ones, the middle class of 1949 are just like 10 or 15% of this population. But then as you move on, we see that the adults are now accounting for almost 50%. You see this one? It's almost 50%. And then the youth are now accounting for a very small percentage of this population, which is now less than 30%. So you can use this to explain that. And I think when you come to this, you can even add the data labels again and say for the blue one, let me put the data labels. Let me put the data labels here for blue. This is so congested, so it's at times I will remove. But if you want to see percentages here, you just need to change these ones into percentages, and then you draw that graph and it will show you the percentages over time. And then you can conclude that, oh yeah, the population of this group is increasing in this period compared to this period. Not necessarily using a line graph all the time. So you can use an area chart. And again, the modifications, you want to change this color, is real up to you. You say, I want this color to be in green, I want this color to be red. It's up to you. You can deal with the colors as you so wish. Yeah, I want this in yellow, etc. This is how elections in Uganda looked like. At a certain point here was high, and then at the end, poof, that's how it happened. So you can do that. You analyze this over time until the time they declare results, and now you start complaining. So that is an area graph. That is an area graph. Use it. Use percentages, put the data labels. You'll be perfect in using these graphics. Infographics. Now, infographics are also in Excel 2016 and above. Excel 2016 and above. Now, Excel 2016 and above, you have Excel 2013 and those kind of things, it will not work. So Excel 2016 and above, at times you can draw this, or you can use these. So let's use this for now. These are what we call the people charts. This one here in Excel is this icon here. It's an add-in. So once you come to this icon, at times it disturbs. I hope it will not disturb me today. It will load. I hope it loads in this one here. Yes, it has loaded. So once it loads, it brings this. And then once it brings this, it comes to, there's a spreadsheet here. And then settings. So once I click on this, I come to this spreadsheet, it tells me select your data. So I select my data. It comes to create. So I select my data. Yeah, and to create this graph here. So this is a people graph. So it is telling you that by age group, those 14 to 18 are many, followed by these ones who are 25 or so, then the 20, but also by gender, it has done one for female. And you see it is missing one for male. So it's an issue of just expanding this graph, I think. Don't show this again. I think I need to see how to show the male. It's still, yeah, now I can see the male also. So you just need to extend it and be able to see all your groups there. Now, at times, you may need to say, I don't want to use human beings. Then when you come to settings here, this icon here is for settings. It can say if you like different themes. We can begin with the themes. You want something like this. You want something to look like this. You want it to look like this. So these are themes. And if you want to use different shapes, so for instance, you want, if it is about money, you can come and use dollars. So that's why we are calling them the infographics. You can use these models. If you're like a Kinyi, you can use a model. So something like that. If they are gentlemen, you can use a gentleman. You can use a dress if you want to send it to, if your boss is a woman and likes putting on dresses, you can do one with dresses. For men, you can use a shirt if you want to do that. So these are what we call the infographics. And again, once you do that, you can deal with the colors. You can do this. These are in themes. You can use these ones. You can use these ones as you so wish. So those are what we call the infographics. In Excel 13 and above. The title, you can change the title to anything you want, maybe number of whatever you want to do, blah, 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 whatever. Maybe respondents, number of youth. Number of youth. So you put your title there and you're done. That said, I think that is how you can go through the different graphics. We hope you have learned something from us. This is just 30 or 40% of visuals in Excel. We have a full session on Excel, which will take a full half day from 8 to almost 1. You can come for the Excel full course. For some of you, you have already done our course. We just wanted to give back to our past clients. For those that have not yet done our course, please, you're welcome. We have Power BI, we have Excel, we have GIS and M&E. So come and learn with us. Hope you have learned something from us. I think I should now stop here and hand over to Doreen. Doreen, I am done.